I'm back for some Week 6 fantasy football tips. You're watching the MJ Take on Sports Fan Entertainment. Hello and welcome to the MJ Take on Sports Fan Entertainment. Time for NFL Week 6 fantasy football tips, advice, starts, and sit here on the MJ Take on Sports Fan Entertainment. I apologize for missing the last couple of weeks, but I've been busy and I never really promised that this was going to be a weekly thing, but I want to get back to doing them a little bit more, so we will do that today. Starts and sits, all of this information can be found down in the description box below. And with that said, let's get into it, shall we? And also, if you have any fantasy football questions, comment them down below and I will probably answer. Let's start with my starts column. And number one is an obvious one, but just in case for some reason you're in a 4 or 6 team league and you're not quite sure if you should start him, let me just go ahead and clarify. Start Ben Roethlisberger this week against the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins stink. Bad, man. The Dolphins are real bad right now. The only hope is their run defense, which was a disaster last week. Their pass defense is awful. Their cornerbacks are bad. Their safeties are okay. But when your quarterbacks are bad, when you're starting Xavier Howard, who is always banged up, when you're starting Tony Lippett, who's a wide receiver coming out of college, you're not going to be very good defending Antonio Brown and the rest of the Steelers arsenal. You start Ben Roethlisberger this week. We move on to Drew Brees of the New Orleans Saints. Again, this should be a no-brainer, but I mean, come on. He's going up against this Carolina Panthers defense that has been really weak against the pass this season. He will eat this Sunday off of the bye week. He has all his weapons healthy and ready to go. Coby Fleener's been getting more involved in the offense. They have Willie Snead healthy and ready to go. Michael Thomas, Brandon Cooks, everyone will get involved, and Drew Brees will be quite the happy man, and I think they're going to win this game as well. We move on to Cam Newton of the Carolina Panthers. Man, I think this is going to be a shootout. I think this will be the biggest shootout of the week. Panthers versus the Saints I'm talking about, obviously, and Cam Newton, coming off his injury, I think he's going to eat as well, and he's going to go back and forth with Drew Brees. So I like both of the quarterbacks in this matchup. I know Cam Newton has not had the best fantasy season this year, but I think this is going to be one of his better games this entire year. Start Cam Newton. We move on to Carson Palmer, who has not been playing well this season at all, but he's going up against the New York Jets, a team that is giving up the highest passer rating in the NFL. 118.2 is the passer rating that the New York Jets defense is giving up. You must start Carson Palmer to me this week. He will finally have some success. He's still, I don't think he's very reliable on a week-to-week basis, but this week, I trust Carson Palmer. Start Carson Palmer. We move on to the running backs, Todd Gurley, and this is a guy that I thought was going to get 1,600 yards this season. Looks safe to say that's probably not going to happen, but I think this is going to be the game that he really goes off. You know, he hasn't had that 100-plus yard game yet, but the Detroit Lions is a team that is allowing 5 yards a carry almost. They're going to let up a ton of yards to Todd Gurley. The Rams are going to run the football, and the Rams are going to be very competitive in this football game. We'll see if they can win it, but I know this. Todd Gurley is going to have one of his best games this season in this game. Start Todd Gurley. We move on to Jamaal Charles, and they are going to release the Kraken, okay? Andy Reid, the Walrus, Andy Reid has been holding on to Jamaal Charles, been, feeding this Kraken, feeding this beast, not really wanting to show him quite yet, but I think this is the week they finally let Jamaal Charles go, and he's going up against the Raiders defense that is the worst in the NFL. I expect Jamaal Charles to have plenty of success, sustained success. He and Spencer Ware, by the way, so go ahead and start both of them to me. Jamaal Charles, release the Kraken. We move on to Lamar Miller, and I loved Lamar Miller coming into this year, and he started off hot, but he's really slowed down since then. However, I like their matchup this week against the Indianapolis Colts. Again, one of the worst run defenses in the league. He should find sustained success against this defense. I like Lamar Miller this week in fantasy football. We move on to Doug Baldwin, the wide receivers. Doug Baldwin of the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I like this one, but I don't love this one just because I'm starting to hear Pete Carroll starting to talk more and more about getting Tyler Lockett involved, but I'll believe it when I see it. Currently, Doug Baldwin is the number one wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks, and against the defense that they're playing this week, the Atlanta Falcons defense, he should find success. He should have a good day. I like Doug Baldwin this week. We have Will Fuller of the Houston Texans. Yes, he is listed as questionable as of this moment, but he will play, and he will find success against this Colts defense that is giving up a lot of big plays huge plays this season. I expect him to end up with a huge touchdown this week, 30-plus yard touchdown this week. Will Fuller will get, and I like him a lot this week. We move on to Jeremy Maclin of the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, this is a very nice defense that they're playing. Okay, the Oakland Raiders defense is not good at all, giving up the most yards in the NFL right now. And Alex Smith isn't a guy that throws the ball a lot. Doesn't blow teams up for 500 yards or anything like that. But I think he's going to find Jeremy Maclin a good amount in this game, and they're going to end up, or Jeremy Maclin is going to end up with a good amount of fantasy points. I like Jeremy Maclin this week. We move on to Jarvis Landry of the Miami Dolphins. Now, this Pittsburgh Steelers passing defense is very interesting because they give up a ton of yards. I mean, they give up almost over 300 yards a game and whatnot, but they only give up about 5 touchdowns this season, to 5 passing touchdowns, which is pretty low. But that's pretty much Jarvis Landry's bread and butter. If you have Jarvis Landry, you expect that. He's going to get a ton of yards, not a lot of touchdowns. So expect a very Jarvis Landryan day. He could get over 100 receiving yards and no touchdowns, but I like hearing that. I like, hey, okay, this guy got 110 receiving yards from me. He didn't get a touchdown, but that's 11 fantasy points, and I'll take it. So I like Jarvis Landry this week. We move on to Delanie Walker. Tight ends, Delanie Walker out of the Tennessee Titans. Look, the Titans are going up against the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are not good. He will finally find some good success in this football game. Probably catch a touchdown over the middle. I like Delanie Walker. We move on to Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs. And again, I know Alex Smith does not throw the ball a lot, but he should find success against this Raiders defense. Travis Kelce should catch a touchdown against this Raiders defense. Their coverage linebackers and safeties are not that good. Carl Joseph's pretty good, but he hasn't been that good covering tight ends. Travis Kelce should be able to dominate, a good amount, fair amount, and they end up with a touchdown and probably like 70, 80 yards and have a nice fantasy day. We move on to defenses/special teams. Let's start with the Cardinals defense. Right now, they're going up against the Jets this week. The Jets team stinks. Their offense stinks. Ryan Tannehill could give you 6 interceptions any given moment. He's on red alert. You have to look out for this guy. We're on DEFCON 5 because Ryan Fitzpatrick, anytime he's playing, you got to look out because he's getting ready to give you the football. You have to love hearing that if you own the Cardinals defense. If you're in FanDuel, DFS, any DraftKings, whatever, get the Cardinals defense because I think they're going to really put up a lot of points this week. I love the Cardinals defense this week. Look, I understand the Cardinals have underwhelmed this year, but I feel like this is a really favorable matchup for them. We move on to the Bills defense. Bills defense playing great the past number of weeks, and they're going up against the 49ers this week. 49ers will never put up 30 points a game this season. They won't do it once. They're not going to put up a ton of points, and they're starting Colin Kaepernick for the first time. They shouldn't put up too many points, and maybe even the Bills end up with a couple interceptions. I like the Bills defense this week. Let's move on to my sit section. We have Andrew Luck of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, look, you have to make sure that you have a better option here because I think Andrew Luck will end up with an okay day. What's going to happen is he's going to get beat up in this game. He's going to get sacked 4, 5, 6 times. They're going to be down early, and then he may end up scoring a late touchdown and end up with about 12 to 15 points in a standard league. Now, if you're okay with that, then fine, start him. But if you're looking for more than that, like a 20-plus performance, he's not giving that to you this week. So it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for, hey, I just want 14 points, okay, fine. Start Andrew Luck, but if you're looking for more than that, stay away from Andrew Luck. We move on to Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons, and again, this isn't a guy that's going to do horrible this week, but I think he's only going to get about 10 to 14 points. So if you're okay with that, then okay, be okay with that. But I would look for more than that, and that's what I would recommend. We move on to Eli Manning of the New York Giants, and again, he's going to give you probably 10 to 14, and if you're okay with that, then be okay with that. But then again, the Ravens defense, they're a tough defense, one of the best defenses in the league. I think they're going to slow down Odell Beckham, Sterling Shepard, Victor Cruz haven't been showing up lately. Larry Donnell, only a red zone threat. This Giants offense isn't good right now. Eli Manning isn't good right now. I don't like Eli Manning this week. We move on to Matthew Stafford of the Detroit Lions. another 10 to 14 point guy this week, but to me, the Lions are going to be against the Rams. The Rams defense is pretty good. I think they're going to really pressure Matthew Stafford. This Lions offensive line is not playing well in terms of pass protection right now. They're going to give up a ton of sacks to this Rams defensive line, and you have to look out for that. I don't love Matthew Stafford this week. Let's move on to the running backs. Jeremy Hill of the Cincinnati Bengals. Man, the Bengals are going to New England, and the Bengals did not play well last week. Jeremy Hill did not play well last week, and I don't think there's any reason to believe he's going to find any success against his Patriots defense. I do not like Jeremy Hill at all this week. And either, also, Giovanni Bernard, I don't like him either. We move on to Matt Jones of the Washington Redskins, and, I'm hearing more and more about Chris Thompson and Robert Kelly than I am Matt Jones. I think his one great week this season was an aberration. I would stay away from Matt Jones in the future. I'd attempt to trade him right now. I think he's going to start losing carries real quick. And then this week, they're going up against the Philadelphia Eagles front, which is not an easy front to go up against. I don't like Matt Jones this week and in the future. We move on to another Matt Forte of the New York Jets. And he's been really slowing down lately, man. Ever since his explosion in week 2 against the Buffalo Bills, 5 fantasy points, nothing from Matt Forte. And I see no reason to believe that's going to change against the Arizona Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are really looking to absolutely kill the Jets on Monday Night Football. Don't see Matt Forte doing a lot in this game. Don't see Matt Forte doing a lot in the future as well. Stay away from Matt Forte. We move on to DeSean Jackson of the Washington Redskins. And look, again, the Redskins are going up against the Philadelphia Eagles defense. This is a good defense. I know last week they gave up 24 points to the Lions, but this is still a good defense. And DeSean Jackson hasn't really been involved in this offense. They keep talking and saying, yeah, we want to get him involved. Yeah, we want to get him involved. But before you know it, this season's going to be over and he wasn't involved and he's a free agent and he's gone. So I'm not buying it yet until I actually see him getting involved. I would sit DeSean Jackson this week if you have a better option, of course. We move on. T.Y. Hilton of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, this one I'm not 100% sold on. I think the Colts are really going to have a hard time moving the football on the Houston Texans. However, there's no one else for Andrew Luck to throw the football to consistently right now other than T.Y. Hilton. So just because of that, T.Y. Hilton may end up with about 80 yards, and you may be okay with that. No touchdowns. So if you're okay with that, then go ahead and start him. But if you have a guy that can get a touchdown for you, can even get over 100 yards this week, I would look for that guy over T.Y. Hilton. Let's move on to Brandon LaFell. And, this is mainly for deeper leagues. But, Brandon LaFell had a good week last week against the Miami Dolphins. That was an aberration. Sit Brandon LaFell. Yeah, I don't think he's going to do much at all this week or in the future. Don't trust Brandon LaFell. It will be the death of you, honestly. We move on to tight ends. Let's go with Jordan Reed of the Washington Redskins. You already know, you should know, he's questionable to play. I don't think he's going to play, and even if he does, I don't think he's going to be very good. He's really banged up, man, getting concussions after concussion after concussion. Can't buy into Jordan Reed right now. Stay away from Jordan Reed. You can keep him, but do not start him this week. Sit him this week. Let's move on to Dwayne Allen of the Indianapolis Colts. And again, I don't see the Colts doing much against this Texans defense this week, man. I don't like Dwayne Allen. I don't like T.Y. Hilton. I don't like Andrew Luck. Sit Dwayne Allen. Let's move on to defenses. We have the Chiefs defense. Chiefs going up against the Raiders this week. Raiders best offense in the NFL. So you have Chief offensive players, you better start them. But if you have Chiefs defense, sit them. Okay, they're not going to do much for you this week. Other weeks they'll do a lot. This week they won't do anything for you. And we also have the Bengals defense going up against the New England Patriots. Patriots don't turn over the football. It's just something that they don't do. So there's no upside here at all. Sit the Bengals defense. So there you go. Those are my week 6 fantasy football starts and sits. What are yours? Comment down below. I want to know. If you have any need for tips or advice, whatever, comment down below. I will respond. If you enjoy the video, make sure to like and most importantly to subscribe. And until next time, this has been the MJ Take on Sports Fan Entertainment, and I'm out. Peace.